I want to tell you the biggest secret that changed my life. Not because I was smarter than other people, not because I was more confident, and definitely not because I always knew what I was doing. The truth is, many times in life, I was just as afraid as you are right now. I started before I was ready. I kept walking when there was almost nothing in my pocket. I talked to other people while I was still doubting my own future. There were days when I felt like I wasn't moving forward at all. There were days when everything I did was wrong. There were days when I wanted to stop because I was too exhausted to keep trying. But then I realized something. Life does not reward the most talented person. It rewards the person who keeps becoming better after all the winters of their life. One day at a time. Slow is fine. Just don't stand still. Because most people do not fail instantly. They simply lose themselves little by little. They stop learning, stop growing, stop believing their life can become different. And the scariest part is it happens very quietly. No one notices the day it begins. A person who was once full of passion slowly becomes someone who is only trying to survive each day. A person who once had big dreams starts convincing themselves, maybe this life is good enough already. But listen to me carefully. If you still feel uncomfortable with your current life, if there is still a part of you inside that refuses to surrender, then your life is not over yet. You still have spring ahead of you. You still have the chance to become stronger, wiser, better, and far more dangerous than the version of yourself living in procrastination today. In this video, I want to talk to you about how a person changes their life, not with one giant leap, but by becoming a little better every day. Because in the end, the thing that creates the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is not luck. It is how much longer that person kept going than everyone else. I learned something very strange about life. A person's greatest battles usually happen in silence. No one sees them. There is no applause. No one knows what you are fighting inside yourself. People only see that you still go to work every day, still smile, still answer the phone, still say, "I'm fine," but only you know there are days when you are surviving on the last bit of energy you have left. I remember years ago, I met a man after one of my talks. He stood waiting near the end of the line. No rush, not many words. When it was finally his turn, he shook my hand and said, "Mr. Jim, I think I'm tired of this life." I looked into his eyes and immediately understood that he was not talking about physical exhaustion. It was the kind of exhaustion that so many adults carry every single day, tired of trying for so long without seeing life change. Tired of waking up every morning and having to appear strong for everyone else. Tired because the older you get, the fewer people ask if you are truly okay. Then he told me about his job, a small store. His finances had not improved for many years. The bills kept arriving every month like winter returning again. Some days he sat in his car for a very long time before going inside the house just to force himself to smile in front of his wife and children. And the thing that hurt him the most was not the lack of money. It was the feeling that he was slowly becoming a smaller version of himself. I will tell you the most dangerous thing in a person's life. It is not failure, not losing money, not being rejected by others. It is when you start getting used to living without hope anymore. That is the real winter. And the scary thing is winters like that do not appear outside. They appear inside your thoughts. You begin delaying the things you were once determined to do. You begin saying, "I'll deal with it tomorrow." You begin looking at successful people and telling yourself, "They're different from me." Little by little, what a person loses is not ability. It is the belief that they can still change. I have seen many talented people, but they stopped too soon. I have also seen very ordinary people, but year after year, they kept learning, kept improving themselves, kept moving forward even slowly. And in the end, those were the people who changed their lives. Because life follows a very fair principle. It does not ask how many times you fell. It only asks, will you get up one more time? There were days when I did not want to continue either. Do you think I was always confident? No. There were speeches where I walked onto the stage with my mind still full of doubt. There were failures so heavy that I questioned whether I truly belonged on this path. There were winters that lasted longer than I expected. And that is something young people often do not understand. They think successful people live in the light their entire lives. No. Successful people are simply those who learn how to keep walking in the dark longer than others. They keep working when no one recognizes them. Keep learning when they have not seen results yet. Keep their discipline even after their emotions are gone. That is why I always say, do not pray for an easier life. Pray to become stronger. Because if you become weaker, life will not stop and wait for you. The bills will still come. Time will still move forward. Youth will still disappear. Opportunities will still pass by. And one day you will realize the thing that hurts the most is not that you failed. It is that you lived far below your true potential for too long. I want you to think about this for a moment. How long has it been since you truly tried for your life? Not trying just to survive, but trying to become the person you once promised yourself you would become. How long has it been since you learned something new? How long has it been since you woke up feeling like you were moving toward a better future? And then I realized, many people do not need more motivation. They need awakening. They need to remember that inside them there is still a person who has not truly disappeared. A person who once had fire, once had ambition, once wanted to live a bigger life. The problem is that life has allowed the dust of disappointment to cover that person for too long. But listen to me carefully. As long as you have not given up on yourself, your life can still change. And then after many years of observing people, I realized something. Most people do not truly want to grow. They just want life to stop hurting them. They pray for difficulties to disappear, pray for things to become easier, pray for money to become less stressful, pray for other people to treat them better, pray for the perfect timing to appear. But life does not work that way. Winter does not ask whether you are ready before it arrives. Some storms enter your life exactly when you are at your weakest. There are years when everything seems to turn against you at the same time. Work is unstable, money is tight, family pressure builds, health declines. And inside you, a very dangerous voice begins to appear. Maybe I should just quit. I know that voice. Many people think successful people never hear it. No, everyone hears it. The only difference is, some people listen to it, and some people keep walking even when their legs feel as heavy as stone. I remember when I was young, I used to think life would become easier once I gained more experience. I used to think, when I make more money, all this pressure will disappear. But then I realized every level of life has its own winter. Poor people have the worries of poor people. Rich people have the worries of rich people. Beginners have the struggles of beginners. Successful people have the pressures of success. Life does not remove challenges. It only asks, who are you becoming as you go through them? And that is when I finally understood the sentence that changed my entire life. Do not pray for things to become easier. Pray to become stronger. Because if you spend your whole life waiting for perfect conditions, you will stand still forever. A farmer cannot stay inside the house just because the weather is cold. He still has to walk into the fields, still has to plant seeds, still has to work even when his hands ache from the winter wind. And the interesting thing is, those winters are exactly what create the strongest people. You do not learn endurance when everything is going well. You learn it when life gives you no other choice except to continue. Some people only truly grow after losing almost everything. After failure, after years of struggle, after being rejected so many times that their self-respect nearly shatters. But it is also in those moments that they begin seeing life differently. They no longer live based on temporary emotions. They understand that discipline matters more than motivation. They understand that a strong person is not someone who never gets tired. It is someone who keeps going even when they are tired. That is what I want you to remember deeply. You do not need to become a perfect version of yourself tomorrow. You only need to stop becoming weaker. Stop living in procrastination. Stop betraying the small promises you make to yourself. Because a person's life usually does not collapse because of one big decision. It collapses from small habits repeated every day. Skipping learning for one day seems harmless. Oversleeping for one day seems harmless. Procrastinating for one day seems harmless. But then those days add up into years. And one day you look back, and everything is still exactly the same. That is the saddest part. Not that you failed, but that you could have become so much more. I once met a man nearly 50 years old who told me, Jim, what hurts me most is not that I'm poor. What hurts me most is knowing I wasted too many years. When he said that I did not see a failure, I saw a person waking up too late. And that is why I am talking to you today. Do not wait until life forces you to change before you start changing. Do not wait until your health declines before taking care of yourself. Do not wait until your bank account is nearly empty before learning how to grow. Do not wait until you lose someone before understanding the value of time. Because there is one thing young people always think they still have plenty of, and that is later. But the years move faster than you think. Spring does not stay long, neither do opportunities. And the most painful thing is not that life is difficult. The most painful thing is when opportunity appears, but you no longer have enough courage to seize it. And then I realized, the thing that determines a person's future is not how many times they have failed. It is whether after every winter, they continue growing or not. There was something I misunderstood for a very long time when I was young. I used to think life changed because of big moments, one big opportunity. one big decision, one major turning point. But then the years taught me a completely different truth. A person's life is usually created by very small things, repeated quietly every day. A few pages of a book, one meaningful conversation, waking up 1 hour earlier, keeping a promise to yourself instead of procrastinating. At first glance, those things seem to make no difference at all. And that is why most people quit too early. They want to see results immediately. They work hard for a few days and expect life to change. They read one book and expect their mindset to mature instantly. They try for a short period of time and then begin asking themselves, why am I still not getting anywhere? But nature does not work that way. You cannot see a tree growing every day. But if it gets watered daily, one day you will not be able to pull it out of the ground anymore. Human beings are the same way. The thing that saddens me most is not seeing someone fail. It is seeing them stop too soon, simply because they have not seen results yet. I once knew a young man working in sales. In the beginning, he was rejected almost constantly. Some days he went from morning until night without selling anything. People started mocking him. Some even said, "You're not cut out for this." And do you know what was remarkable? It was not other people that made him stronger. It was those difficult days. Because instead of giving up, he started doing very small things every day. Every night he sat down and wrote out what he had said wrong. Every morning he woke up a little earlier to read more. Every week he tried to communicate a little better than the week before. No one noticed those changes. There was no applause. No one called it success. But years later, he became the person those who once looked down on him had to look up to. That is how life truly changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, one day at a time. And that is what many young people today do not understand. They want huge motivation, want powerful inspiration, want to feel intensely fired up. But listen to me carefully. You cannot build a strong life based only on emotions. Emotions change very quickly. Some days you feel full of energy. Some days you do not want to do anything at all. If your life depends on emotions, you will always stop halfway. That is why discipline matters more than motivation. Discipline is when you still do what needs to be done, even when no one is watching, even when there are no results yet, even when you are doubting yourself. I said this many years ago, and I still believe it completely. Success is a few simple principles, practiced every day, and failure is the same. Failure does not appear overnight. It comes from small mistakes, repeated long enough. One day of procrastination, one day of laziness, one day of taking it easy on yourself. At first glance, it does not seem dangerous. But years later, those things create a completely different life. I want you to imagine two people. One becomes a little better every day. One becomes a little more careless every day. At first, the difference is almost invisible. But 5 years later, they will be living like people from two completely different worlds. That is the power of small things. And it is also why I always say, be careful about what you repeat every day. Because in the end, your life is not created by what you do occasionally. It is created by what you do consistently. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for one big moment to change. But the truth is, life usually changes direction during very ordinary moments. One morning you decide to wake up earlier. One day you decide to read instead of complain. One time you decide to continue instead of quit. No one realizes how important those moments are while they are happening. Just like a seed does not know it will become a forest, but it still has to remain in the soil long enough. That is the hardest part of growth. Being patient with yourself, continuing even when nothing seems to be changing yet, trusting the process even when life is still full of winters. And then one day you will look back at your old self and realize, the thing that changed your life was not one grand decision. It was the day you stopped neglecting the small things. After many years of going through all the ups and downs of life, I realized there is something even more dangerous than failure. It is when opportunity appears, but you no longer have enough fire left inside to seize it. You know what is strange? Most people think their lives lack opportunities. But the truth is, many people have already stood in front of opportunities before. It is just that at the time they were too afraid, too full of procrastination, too doubtful of themselves, or too comfortable with their current life to keep moving forward, and then spring passed by, quietly, without a sound. I grew up around many farms, and farmers understand something that many people out there do not. Spring does not last forever. There is only a short period of time to plant seeds. If you sleep through that season, you will have nothing to harvest when autumn arrives. Human life is the same way. Some springs appear only a few times in a lifetime. An opportunity to learn, a mentor appearing at the right moment, a job, an idea, a door, a period of time when you still have enough health, enough youth, enough energy to completely change your future. But the problem is, many people do not realize they are in spring until it has already passed. I have met people who told me, if only I had started earlier, if only I had taken things more seriously when I was younger, if only I had not wasted so many years. And every time I hear those words, I always feel a very deep pain inside them. Not pain from failure, but pain from knowing they could have become so much more. I want you to remember this. Life does not reward people who only know how to wait. It rewards people who know how to act while opportunity is still in front of them. A farmer cannot say, "This year I just don't feel inspired to plant seeds." No, the seasons do not care about his emotions. If he does not act at the right time, the entire following year will pay the price. That is why I always say, learn to act before you feel ready. Because if you wait until you are completely confident, you will miss almost all the greatest opportunities of your life. Some people spend their whole lives only watching. They watch others change, watch others grow, watch others build better lives. And they always say, one day I'll start too. But one day is where many dreams go to die. Life truly changes when a person decides, right now, it is okay if it is not perfect. It is okay if you are uncertain. It is okay if you are afraid. But you must begin. I have stepped onto stages while my mind was still full of anxiety, accepted opportunities I was not sure I was good enough for, walked into major opportunities feeling completely unprepared. But that is how people grow. No one becomes strong first and then enters life. They step into life first, and then life forces them to become stronger. And sometimes what makes you different is not talent. It is your willingness to see spring when it appears. There is something young people often misunderstand. They think they still have plenty of time. But let me tell you this very slowly. Life moves faster than you think, much faster. One day, you are 20 years old. Then suddenly you look back, and 10 years have passed. The plans are still on paper. The dreams are still inside your head. The things you once said, one day I'll do that, still have not begun. That is how people lose their lives. Not in one major moment, but through countless small delays. I know there are people listening to me right now who feel it is already too late. You look at others who are farther ahead than you. You look at your age. Look at the years that have passed. And you begin thinking, maybe my opportunity is gone. No. As long as you are still alive, another spring can still begin. But this time, do not sleep through it. Do not keep living as if you have unlimited time, because some doors only open during one season. And if you do not walk through them, life will continue moving without waiting for you. Maybe today you cannot change your entire life, but you can begin changing its direction today, right after this moment, with one very small decision. Stop waiting to become the person you know you can become. And then I realized one of humanity's greatest tragedies is not that people lack potential. It is that they allowed too many springs to pass silently by. After all the years I have spent walking through this life, I realized something deeply important. Most of the things that destroy a person's future do not come from outside. Not the economy, not circumstances, not the people who hate you, but the silent enemies living inside you. And the dangerous part is, they do not arrive like massive storms. They come very gently, very slowly, very normally, until one day you look back and realize you are no longer the person who once felt so alive. One of the first enemies is indifference. It is when people begin living with the mindset, whatever, it's fine, no longer trying harder, no longer learning more, no longer expecting anything greater from themselves. Do you know the scariest thing about indifference? It makes people feel comfortable inside a life that is slowly becoming smaller. A person who once had enormous ambition begins accepting a life beneath their true potential. A person who once wanted to change the future now only tries to survive from one week to the next. I have seen that happen to many people. It is not because they lack talent. It is not because they lacked opportunities. They simply lost the fire inside themselves. And when that fire goes out, people begin living on autopilot. Wake up in the morning, go to work, come home, sleep, then repeat, year after year, without feeling like they are moving forward anymore. I want you to remember this. Life does not stand still. If you are not intentionally growing, you are quietly falling behind. Because out there, time keeps moving. Other people are still learning, still growing, still becoming stronger. And the most dangerous thing is, falling behind usually makes no sound. It happens very quietly, like a house slowly deteriorating over time. At first, it is only a few small cracks. Then years later, everything collapses. That is why you must protect the fire inside yourself. Do not let life turn you emotionally numb. Do not let past failures turn you into someone who no longer dares to hope. And then there is another enemy, far more dangerous: self-doubt. I think almost everyone has experienced this. You look at successful people, look at confident people, look at people moving ahead, then start asking yourself, maybe I'm not good enough. That is the moment many dreams begin to die. Not because the person lacks ability, but because they stop believing in themselves. I have stood in front of mirrors and doubted myself many times. There were moments when I thought, can I really change my life? There were moments when I looked at people more successful than me and felt the distance was too great. But then I realized, every strong person I have ever met had one thing in common. They were afraid too. They doubted themselves too. They failed too. The only difference is, they did not let doubt decide their future. Because if you listen to every fear inside your head, you will never begin anything meaningful. There are very talented people who spend their entire lives shrinking themselves because they do not believe they deserve something better. And the saddest part is, most of them do not even realize they are limiting themselves. They say, I'm not smart enough. I don't have the right conditions. I'm not lucky. But many times, that is only the way people protect themselves from the fear of failure. Because if you never try, at least you will not have to face rejection. But listen to me carefully. A life that is too safe is often also a life full of regret. You cannot grow if you always run away from the things that scare you. A bird does not learn to fly by staying in the nest forever. Human beings are the same way. You have to step out. You have to try. You have to accept that sometimes you will be awkward. You will fail. You will be rejected. But that is the price of growth. I have never seen anyone build a great life without first walking through days filled with doubt. And then there is one final enemy, very silent: indecision. Many people do not fail because they make the wrong decision. They fail because they make no decision at all. They stand in the middle of life for too long, wanting change but never beginning, wanting to move forward but never daring to choose a direction, wanting a better life but always saying, maybe a little later. But life waits for no one. Time does not stop because you are still uncertain. With every passing year, the version of yourself you could become slowly drifts farther away. And then I realized, sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is not being certain they will succeed. It is continuing to move forward, even when they still cannot see the entire path ahead. There was something I did not understand when I was young. I used to think that working hard was enough. Just work more, try harder, persevere more. But then life taught me a different lesson. Not everything around you wants to see you grow. And if you do not learn how to protect your future, this world will pull you back into your smaller old version very quickly. I have seen people full of potential, but living too long in environments that made them forget who they could become. They stayed around people who always said, that's good enough. Don't dream too big. Life is realistic. People like us can't do that. At first, they are just a few small comments. But if you hear them long enough, you begin to believe they are true. You have to understand this. Your environment silently shapes your life. The people you spend time with will eventually affect how you think, how you live, how much you believe in yourself, and even the future you allow yourself to have. That is why I'm always careful about the voices I allow near my mind. Because there are people, every time you talk to them, you feel stronger. But there are also people who, if you stay around them too long, slowly drain your energy for life. You begin doubting the things that once excited you. You begin shrinking yourself to fit inside their limitations. And the sad thing is, many people do that just to be accepted. They abandon the bigger version of themselves, so they do not make others uncomfortable. But listen to me carefully. If you want to change your life, there will come a time when you must accept that you no longer fit with certain people. Not because you are arrogant, but because you are growing. A tree cannot grow if its roots are trapped forever inside a pot that is too small. Human beings are the same way. There are environments that may have suited you at one stage of life, but become dangerous if you stay too long. I have seen people start with great motivation. They read books, they learn, they want to change. But then every day they stay around people who constantly complain, constantly blame others, constantly mock the efforts of other people. And little by little their fire goes out. Not in one day, but little by little, like weeds slowly growing around a garden. If the farmer does not pay attention, one day they will take all the nutrients from the healthy plants. Life is the same way. If you do not protect your mind, negative thoughts will grow naturally. Laziness too. Procrastination too. Being too easy on yourself too. Those things require no effort to appear. But discipline does. Growth does. Building a better life does. That is why you must learn how to fight for your future. Not fight against the world, but fight against the things that are quietly pulling you below your true potential. Maybe it is the habit of staying up late for no reason. Maybe it is conversations filled with negativity. Maybe it is procrastination that has lasted for years. Or sometimes it is the voice inside your own head always saying, "I can't do this." I have had to fight that voice many times. Do you think people standing on a stage no longer feel fear? No. We simply learn not to let fear control our lives anymore. That is the difference. Strong people are not people without doubt. They just do not let doubt decide their future. And then I realized something very important. You cannot build an extraordinary life if every day you continue living among the things that are making you weaker. Some people want success, but do not want to leave the environment destroying their spirit. Want to grow, but do not want to change their habits. Want life to become different, but live exactly the same way every day. That will never happen. Life changes when people begin protecting what matters. Protecting their time, their energy, their focus, their mind, their future. I want you to think deeply about this. What is silently taking away your strength every day? What is keeping you trapped in your old version? Who is making you doubt yourself more? And what will happen if you continue living this way for another 5 years? Sometimes growth is not about adding more. It is about having the courage to remove. Remove the things that make you smaller. Remove the thoughts that make you weaker. Remove the environments that make you forget your true value. And then I understood. One of the most important decisions in a person's life is choosing what deserves to stay close to their future. There is a huge misunderstanding many people carry their entire lives. They think successful people are always strong, always confident, always motivated, always knowing exactly what they are doing. But after many years of meeting all kinds of people, I can tell you this. Many of the strongest people I have ever met wanted to quit many times. They get tired too, feel pressure too, have nights where they lie awake not knowing where the future is going. The only difference is they do not stop during those moments. I remember a period in my life when everything was not going the way I wanted. My work was not progressing as quickly as I expected. There were goals I set that I could never seem to reach. And the most dangerous thing that began to appear was not failure, but prolonged exhaustion. Do you know that kind of exhaustion? Not exhaustion from hard work, but exhaustion from trying for so long without seeing life change. It is the kind of exhaustion that makes people start living halfway, doing just enough, dreaming just enough, believing in themselves just enough to survive, but no longer strongly enough to break free from their current life. Many people out there are living like that. They are not truly living. They are only trying not to collapse. And the heartbreaking part is, many people think that is normal, but it is not. You were not born to spend your whole life mentally exhausted. You were not born to wake up every morning feeling your life is slipping away without knowing why. You were not born to become a weaker version of yourself year after year. There were moments in life when I had to sit alone and ask myself, Jim, am I truly living up to my potential? That is a very difficult question, because deep inside, most of us already know the answer. We know when we are procrastinating, know when we are shrinking ourselves because of fear, know when we are using busyness to hide the fact that we no longer dare pursue something greater. And then I realized, life does not truly change when you gain more money or more luck. It changes when you regain respect for yourself. When you start keeping promises to yourself again, when you say you will do something and you actually do it, even if it is small. That is how a person rebuilds their inner strength. Not through grand speeches, but through small victories repeated every day, waking up a little earlier, being a little more disciplined, being a little more patient, being a little better than yesterday. That is why I have always believed success is not something that happens suddenly. It accumulates like the sunrise. You do not see it moving minute by minute, but eventually the entire sky changes color. Human beings are the same way. If every day you become a little stronger, one day your life will become completely different. But be careful, because the opposite is true too. If every day you become a little more careless with yourself, your life will quietly decline as well. That is why you must observe the things you repeat. Which version of yourself are you feeding every day? The stronger version? Or the version that always looks for excuses to procrastinate? I have seen very ordinary people completely change their lives simply because they did not stop. They were not faster than others. not smarter, did not have a better starting point. They just kept going. While others quit, that is what made time become their greatest ally. And I think this is what many people need to hear most today. You do not need to become extraordinary overnight. You just need to stop turning your back on your potential. Stop living as if you have unlimited time. Stop waiting for someday to finally take your life seriously. Because the truth is, every day you delay becoming a better version of yourself, a part of your life is being taken away forever. And then one day, you will look back at all the winters you survived, all the times you wanted to quit, all the moments life exhausted you, and you will realize what created the person you are today was not the easy days. It was the days you kept going even when you were exhausted. That is real strength, not never falling down, but after everything, still standing up one more time. Maybe after everything I shared today, you will realize something very important. Life is not truly against you. It is trying to build you, but that process is not comfortable. No one becomes strong during days when everything goes smoothly. No one discovers their true inner strength when life is always easy. It is the winters, the long, exhausting days, the failures, the periods when you must continue walking through loneliness that create depth within a person. I know there are moments when you feel like you have tried for too long. There are nights when you lie down with your mind still full of pressure. There are mornings when you wake up, and the first thing you feel is not hope, but exhaustion. Exhaustion from having to keep being strong. Exhaustion from continuing to try without seeing clear results yet. Exhaustion because sometimes no one truly understands what you are fighting inside yourself. But listen to me carefully. Do not judge your life based on one difficult season. A farmer does not dig up a seed just because he cannot see the plant growing today. He understands. Some things need time to take root in darkness before they grow under the light. Human beings are the same way. There are changes happening inside you, even if you cannot see them yet. Every time you refuse to quit, you become a little stronger. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rebuild respect for yourself. Every time you continue learning instead of complaining, you move farther ahead than many people out there. That is what I wish I had understood earlier when I was young. That life does not change because of one explosive moment. It changes because of very ordinary days when you still decide not to surrender. Many years ago, I thought success meant having more money, more achievements, more recognition. But the longer I live, the more I understand. True success is becoming a person you feel proud of when you look in the mirror. A person who can be trusted. A person who does not run from difficulty. A person who does not let failure turn them bitter. A person who still keeps hope alive after everything life has done to hurt them. That is the real victory. Because there are many people who make money but lose themselves. Many people who look successful on the outside but are completely empty inside. But you, if after all these winters, you still want to grow, still want to live better, still want to become a stronger version of yourself, then you are already heading in the right direction. Do not demand perfection from yourself. Just become a little better than yesterday. Do not compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Just keep going, one day at a time. Because in the end, the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life usually comes down to this. Who kept going longer? Who stood up one more time? Who refused to let the winters turn them into someone who quits? And one day you will look back at your old self, the version that was afraid, that doubted, that wanted to stop many times, and you will be grateful that you did not quit too soon. You will understand that every book you ever read, every time you forced yourself to stay disciplined, every morning you woke up without motivation, every time you kept moving forward without seeing the light yet, was quietly building the person you are today. That is how life works. Quietly, slowly, but very fairly. If you plant seeds long enough, autumn will come. If you grow every day, your life cannot remain in the same place forever. And before ending this video, I want to leave you with one question. If you continue living exactly as you are now for another 5 years, will you feel proud or full of regret? Think carefully about that. And if today you decide to begin again, even with just one very small step, remember this. You do not need to change your entire life in one day. You only need to stop giving up on yourself. If this video touched you, leave a comment down below. I want to know you are still walking with me. And if you want to continue the journey of becoming stronger, wiser, and better every day, please like and subscribe to the channel. And remember this, success is not something you pursue, it is something you attract by the person you become.